I know that snowflakes are coming in the forecast, but did you know there is a horse named Snowflake at Maple Brook Horse Sanctuary in Spencer? The owner of this sanctuary is our next guest on Bring It to the Table. Thank you for tuning in to Bring It to the Table. I'm your host, Allison Smith, and I would like to introduce you to Cindy Walden Levey, who is the owner and operator of Maple Brook Horse Sanctuary right here in Spencer. Thank you for coming, Cindy.
Well, thank you for having me, Allison. This is great.
It is great. Yeah, so you have been a horse sanctuary here in Spencer for how long?
Well, I've been doing it independently for about 20 years.
You have?
But this past April,
Yes.
I went official and I became a certified 501c3, which allowed us to set it up as a corporation, which then allowed us to be able to bring in volunteers with the commercial insurance and that sort of thing so that I can share it with other people.
I know, that's a really, really big deal.
It is a really big deal.
Yeah, so what is your background? What got you into this? Are you an equestrian?
I'm a lifetime equestrian.
You
I've
are.
had horses forever. I've been horse crazy ever since I can remember. I go back, my memory goes back to like age 4. You know,
Yes.
I was that kid that came running to the edge of the yard if a horse went by on the road. I'm still that person who, if a horse trailer goes by, my head wings around to see what I can see in the back of the trailer. Like, what am I going to see, a tail? But, but I have to do it.
I'm a horsewoman too, and we live longer.
I think so.
Yeah, so you have 7 horses, right?
There's 7 horses right now at the sanctuary. It sometimes fluctuates. We've had as many as 8, but 7 to 8 is kind of our sweet spot, if you will.
Yes.
It seems to work out well for the herd. I keep them as a herd.
Yes.
And they have to get along together and that sort of thing. And the land, they're out on fields, they're grazing, and the land, you don't want to have too many because then what makes it a wonderful sanctuary
Correct.
goes away. Now they're in little paddocks, and I'd like to keep them free and big and happy and able to roam and do their thing.
Yes, they stay as a herd collectively, and that's how it would be in nature.
Yes.
So they feel more secure, don't they?
They do. They
Yes.
absolutely do.
Right.
In fact, when they take naps, some of them will lay down, which is when they can dream. They can actually enter REM sleep if they lay down. But they can sleep standing up.
Yes.
And generally, if some of the herd is laying down, at least one is standing up, kind of standing sentry to make sure that everything is okay.
Yes,
Keeping them all
one's kind of
safe.
on guard, right?
Yeah.
For any of the predators that seem to be many in
Yeah, we have
Spencer.
a lot. We have a lot because we're in the boonies, so
Yes.
we've got it all.
It's amazing. I like it a lot. I think that it's nice to have a sanctuary not only for the horses but also for the wildlife by preserving open space and conservation land.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, because
So
we have all the wild animals,
Yeah.
whether they be non-dangerous versus the coyotes and the bear
Right.
and the bobcat that people are afraid of, but we all live in harmony.
Yes.
And it works out quite well.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do the same thing where you have the space for the domestic animals and that keeps them safe from disease that a lot of the wild animals can carry.
Yes.
But it goes in harmony with the farm where you do have the rest of that land that the wild animals tend to be drawn to, I find.
We have flocks of turkeys that'll be out there with the horses. It's quite
Yes.
funny. There's 30 turkeys and 7 horses all together.
Isn't that the best?
It
and they're
is.
eating the ticks.
Yeah, and they're eating the ticks.
Which you love. I love seeing the turkeys in the early spring
Yeah.
because I'm like, yeah, eat the ticks.
Go get them.
Yeah, and it adds to the environment of your beautiful sanctuary. So
Yeah,
tell
thank
us
you.
about I know it's totally horses, but also tell me about the people who are involved with your sanctuary.
Well, we have people that will come and volunteer, and they can range from people with a lot of horse experience to folks with no horse experience.
Right.
They just think they're pretty and they want to see them. And some folks come to help and give labor. Others come because they're hoping to have a little peace and solitude when they're there. And one of the things we work with is the veterans. We work with the American Legion here in town, Project New Hope in Worcester, and veterans will come out, people that have some PTSD, and I mean, who doesn't, right? We've all lived this far. We all have something, some kind of depression, anxiety, trauma. And when you're around the horses, I don't know, you just leave as a happier human. It's like a magic thing. It's not like we're doing therapy. It's just a natural being around the horses brings you peace and comfort.
So I don't know if you knew this, but the science behind why equines are so powerful is that they actually have a slower heart rate. So you don't even have to touch them, but the science behind the touching even adds, to the therapeutic value. But in a nutshell, it's that our heart rates will sync, to a certain degree with the horse, so it lowers our heart rate, and that creates a myriad of other health benefits that kind of trickle out, including like lowering blood pressure and obviously lowering anxiety, because an elevated heart rate would be, consistent with, anxiety or fear or any sort of PTSD, episode, if you would.
Right.
The horses are really, really powerful, even just to be around them, not even interacting with them. So you can kind of see why you would crave that interaction when you're not with them, while you're looking at the horse trailers or stopping on the side of the road when you see the horses, because it actually has a physical effect on you. So let's talk a little bit about some of the events, because you were mentioning that you have different events, and you were saying something about a meditation event, which would go hand in hand with the horses, wouldn't it?
It would. I didn't know about the horse's heart, how it changes our heartbeat, and we synchronize to their hearts.
Yes.
And I didn't know that in all these years. I mean, I've been around horses my whole life, and it was just happening, I guess, and here it was. But we had an event the beginning of November. Nice. It was meditation in the presence of horses.
Isn't that powerful?
And it was beautiful. And the woman that did it is Kaleidoscope Equine. And she came, and we had some Zen music playing. The horses were in their stalls, and people came and sat in the center aisle of the barn, and the horses are right there. They were chomping on their hay, which is really a wonderful sound. And she played her music, and she read a lot of interesting things, and we were sitting in our chairs, the blankets around us, with our hot cider and hot chocolate in our hands. Yes. And it was really just a beautiful event. And we're going to do that again in the spring when things warm up again.
Yes.
And people left and they loved it. And another event that we're going to be doing this spring is sound healing. We have someone who's going to come and do this. It might be in the house if it's still cold. We'll have to see. And so it's really kind of looking at from the perspective of people, and how can we help people as well as horses. The horses are doing just fine out there, so let's work on the people sometimes.
Yes.
And we're going to have that. We just had a big event. It was our biggest to date. It was this past Friday night. It was a comedy night. It was at J. Anthony's restaurant in Auburn on the Oxford line on Route 20, and we filled the room. We had a room that would hold 250 people. And I figured if we got 150 to 200, we'd have done well. And we packed the room. There wasn't an empty chair. It was such a thrill. And we had raffles, and people had a great time. And we raised some money for the sanctuary, which allows us to provide for their medical care and their feet care and all the things that horses need.
And Faye Schaefer, too, did the raffles.
Yes.
Who was our last guest.
Yes. So Faye Schaefer, that's how I learned about her, is she put these beautiful raffle baskets together and like kind of shrink wrapped the ones, if you will, and had beautiful bows on them and put things in just the right places, and the raffle gifts all looked amazing. I was really thrilled.
She's such a nice person.
Yeah, she is such a nice person.
I love supporting Spencer.
Yes.
It feels really, really good.
Yeah, we lift each other up.
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
yes,
which
it feels really, really
good.
Great.
Another thing that we did was we had candles made. Now, these are just entering the stream of commerce, if you will.
Yes.
We had special candles made by a woman who has a store now in Fiskdale, which is part of Sturbridge.
Yes.
And she's from Brookfield. So
Isn't that
Breezy
great?
Candle. So shout out to her as well.
Isn't that wonderful?
And they're beautiful.
Yes,
So
I love
we're selling
candles.
those now, and they have our name on it, our
Oh,
logo.
great.
And they're dessert candles, so they look like a parfait. You open them up, and
no
there's a cookie
way.
there, and it's all soy and with a candle.
That's exciting.
wicks.
I love that.
Yeah, they
That's so
smell
great.
amazing.
So you really are doing a lot of different creative avenues to support your farm.
Yes.
And your horses.
We're trying to support people and animals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you.
So the animals are like a bridge, really, for people to not only, engage in the community, but also to trust.
Yes.
And trust is really the foundation of any relationship. A lot of times,
Yeah.
people are like, oh, you could just love, love is the answer, which it is, but you have to have that foundation of trust and respect.
Yeah.
And horses have a wonderful way of doing that, especially for people who don't trust humans. For whatever might have happened, it's easier for them to use the horse as a gateway.
They're a wonderful foil, if you will, for
Yes.
people to work with, and it brings them out. I'll leave the barn for a little bit, and someone will be in there with the horse,
Yes.
close or something, and I come back and I hear them talking sweet nothings to them, and it's just the sweetest thing. And it's a natural thing, like, oh, you were so beautiful, I love you, look at you, and it could be a guy, it could be, a veteran who had done combat,
Right.
and it brings out a whole different side of our being that I think is so important.
It is so important.
Because the people have the trauma. Some of the horses have had trauma. They come to me in different ways. Some of them need a home, and we can't take every horse that comes along, of course, because otherwise we'd have, too many. People don't realize horses live 30 to 40 years.
Yes, they do.
It's a long time, and so you get a horse when you're in high school, and you go off to college, and you're done with your horse, and now what happens to the horse?
Right.
So that's a tough thing, and these horses, they all still have a lot to give.
Yes, they do.
They have the love. Sometimes physically they can't do a lot. They can still get around, they're pasture sound, but they're not to be ridden. And the sanctuary doesn't provide any riding or anything like that, but we do provide interaction.
Yes.
And, groundwork, I call it. You can bring the horse out to the pasture and things like that. And I think that's where the magic really happens.
It's really about the relationship and the bond.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely is.
Yes. I always say that the horse is one of the best therapists because they'll never tell your secrets.
Yeah, that's true.
Isn't it?
You can tell them anything.
Yes, you can tell
They'll
them
never
anything.
share.
Yes, and that is sometimes the reassurance that people need to
Yeah.
open up.
Right.
So let's talk about your horses for a minute.
Okay.
So we got Snowflake.
Yes.
Snowflake is your poster girl, right?
Yes,
She's
yep.
on your Facebook. She's on your business
Yep,
cards.
there she is.
Can you tell us a little bit about Snowflake?
Oh, I would love to.
Yes.
So Snowflake, I have owned her for 20 years. Or really, she's owned me.
Isn't that the truth?
That is the truth. Yeah, she's a registered quarter horse. She's a mare. She's a female. And she'll be 30 in the spring. And she is just going and going. She's like the ever energy bunny there.
So
She
just for our viewers at home, how old does a horse live usually?
Well, 30, the rough guess is it's 3 to 1. So a 30-year-old horse would be like a 90-year-old person.
Wow.
So that's pretty old.
Yes,
and
it
she
is.
has her arthritis, and she's losing her teeth
Yep.
and all these things. So we adapt
Yes.
what we do and how we do for her. But we keep her healthy. This picture was taken in May.
She looks
So
amazing.
she's still looking amazing.
She does not look
Yep.
30.
No, she
and
does
I
not.
love a white horse. They're
Yeah.
so majestic.
Isn't it great?
Yes.
Yeah, she's very photogenic, and she loves people.
Mm.
She enjoys when people come. She sits there and licks, and she gets all happy in her face, and you can just see her getting animated. And she's our starter horse because
Yes.
she is the quietest and is the one that makes you feel comfortable
Yes.
right away.
Yes.
So she's the best one, and
She's the greeter.
She's the greeter.
Yes.
Yes, she's definitely the greeter.
She's the hostess with the mostest.
Yes, yes, she is.
Yes.
And when I got her when she was 10, for my daughter, who was younger at the time, she was full of beans. And I got her from my farrier. I bought her from my farrier.
Yep.
He had gotten her from someone else because she was too crazy, and they couldn't control her. And then she came to the sanctuary, and there's lots of space, and we don't ask a lot of them.
Right.
We try to figure out what they're happy doing.
Yes.
She hates the riding ring.
Yeah.
She does not want to work in a ring, does not want to do horse shows.
Yep.
She loves trail riding.
Right.
In fact, she will drag me to get on the trailer to go somewhere, and I'm trying to keep up, She's like, let's go, Mom.
So
and
you
she
walk
loves
her
trail
through the
riding.
trail.
I walk her to the trail.
Yeah.
I walk her to the trailer.
Yep.
We might drive somewhere and go trail riding. And
So
she
you still
loves
ride her?
it. Occasionally.
You do?
I
Oh,
do.
that's incredible.
Yeah, we try to keep as much weight off of her as possible.
Yes.
So I have a saddle that weighs about 5 pounds.
Sure.
And I try to, keep my weight down too, so that we don't put a lot of weight on her. We have special stirrups we found that weigh nothing.
Isn't that great?
And she loves to go. So we don't do a lot. We'll go for an hour, but
she
she's
loves
very
it.
happy.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Keeps
Yes.
it- who doesn't like a nice walk in nature?
Yeah, and she loves it. That's
She
her
does.
favorite thing.
Yeah.
So, we do what makes them happy.
Isn't that great?
It is
That's
great.
wonderful. So would you say that Snowflake kind of started it all?
She did and she didn't.
Okay.
I had a horse as a kid, and when I went to college, I had to sell my horse. I boarded her.
Yes.
And I couldn't expect my parents to keep paying board. I went to school, but I never forgot her, and I could never find her again later when I was able to, to get her back. So I vowed to myself that once I get another horse, I will keep them for the rest of their natural days.
Isn't that wonderful?
And that's what I've done. So the next horse, when I finally got back into horse ownership, I was taking lessons and whatever to do to stay in touch. When I was finally ready to buy a horse, I got a 19-year-old thoroughbred mare, and she came from a rescue in New Hampshire from a woman who became a dear friend after that, and kept this horse Pickles until the end of her days.
Yes.
And right when I got her, she got into an accident and she broke a bone in her foot. We call it the coffin bone.
Sure.
And it's a very dangerous bone to break because it's hard to heal.
Yes.
And I said, no, we're going to try.
Yeah.
And we kept her in a stall for 9 months, which was not
Easy.
for her especially.
Right.
But we did, and she made it for another 10 years.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then when she got to when I was boarding, and then eventually about a year later, I got the sanctuary land, and there was nothing there. I built the barn, and then eventually I built the house, and then another barn, and things like that, just in piecemeal. I've been there for 20 years now. And so Pickles had 10 years, the best years of her life, able to just go and do. And then there was the next one, and then the next one, and Snowflake was the third one.
Okay.
Yeah, but she's
Yes.
the one who's still here after all this time.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So would you consider, when did you start considering yourself a sanctuary?
I guess about 10 years ago, I had 2 boarders who had their horses with me, and I had my horses. And because of their personal situations, they weren't able to continue to pay board.
Got it.
And they didn't know what to do.
Right.
And I had that look in the mirror moment, and I said, they'll live here.
Aw.
They'll just stay here the rest of their days. They've been here for a few years. They're part of my family,
Aw.
and that
That's-
seemed like the right thing.
That's so rare.
And they did.
Though, because so many horses are traded.
They are. And they have
It's actually
fates that we don't know. Sometimes
most
they're ugly.
common.
It is.
Yeah, it's almost like disposable horses. It's
Yeah,
awful.
like
It
they're
really is
used
awful.
trucks, and
It
you just
is,
send them
yeah.
off, a used truck.
Right, yeah.
But
Oh,
they're
I
not.
Need it.
They're
I need it bigger and better.
Yep, bigger and better. So that's how we have some of the ones we have.
Of course, yeah.
Is people wanted bigger and better, and what happens to the one left behind?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
they've come to me as free lease, they call it. So they still own them, but they know they're having the best life, and they're still going to stay with me, and it's as though I own them. So I just didn't pay to buy them, if
Right,
you will.
right.
But they have comfort.
You adopted them.
I adopted them. Yes.
They're your new babies.
They're my new babies,
Yeah.
even though they're 1,500 pounds. Some of them.
Isn't that the truth? So
Yeah.
tell me more. What other horses? So you have these 2 horses. What are their names?
So right now, let's see, we've got Snowflake, as
Yes.
we talked about.
Yep.
We also have another horse, Classy.
Okay.
Little pompous name, but if you live up to it, hey, why
Of
not,
course.
right? And she came with that name. And she's a quarter horse. We don't know anything about her background beyond she was with a woman in Berlin who gave her a great home.
Okay.
And they weren't using her anymore, and she had some health issues. And she came to me, but before they got her from an auction in New Jersey.
Right.
So that's where the story ends for us to know what happened and what her life was like before that.
Right.
We don't have any knowledge. It is an auction that some of the horses do go to kill pens.
Exactly.
And,
yeah.
it's just, that's what happens to some of these horses.
Right.
She's a beautiful girl. She's a smart girl. She's a wonderful girl. She's almost as wonderful as Snowflake, which, I mean, that's almost, almost. And, but she has severe arthritis in her legs.
Yes.
So I was trying to figure out what she might have done in her earlier days to have that. We haven't figured that out yet, but we're just working on it through medicine and through taking care of her feet better.
Yes.
And she's having a great life.
Right.
And we do things together. We go camping, and she loves to go camping.
Yes.
And
that's amazing.
Isn't it great?
So you take your horses camping?
Yeah, we take them camping. We'll set up a little paddock. And
how far do you go?
Well, our favorite place is down, I call it the Cape, but it's Miles Standish State Forest.
Oh my
in
God,
Plymouth
that
Carver.
sounds amazing.
They have a section just for horses.
No way.
Yeah.
So you're right. Is it by the ocean?
Yeah, you can get, well, not so much the ocean. There's the kettle ponds that are there.
Oh, nice.
So we're
So
a
by
little
the
bit
water.
inland. So we can find other water.
Yeah.
But they have beautiful trails. They're
Yes.
very sandy.
Yep.
And somehow
Oh, that
there's
sounds wonderful.
no bugs down there. I don't know how that happens, but
Yeah.
flies
The
can be
wind,
an issue.
maybe? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
Yep.
it's the wind,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So we love to go camping and go on the trails
That's
and just gentle,
exciting.
just gentle, easy life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Enjoyable.
Yes.
Yeah. You're like friends having a great time
Yes,
together. You just
yeah.
happen to be horse and human.
Right, exactly.
Isn't that great?
Some of us have 2 legs, some have 4.
Yes,
you know?
exactly. Yeah. It
So
really
we do
is like that.
So Classy's doing great. She had some dental surgery last year, which was a little pricey, and we have some more dental surgery coming up. So that's part of the reason we
That
do
is-
some of the fundraising.
That is really.
She's been to Tufts. She's going to have to go back to Tufts.
that
They're going
is
to take another
really,
tooth out.
Really expensive.
Yeah.
Really,
So they're going to
really
have to go in
expensive.
through her forehead and clean out her
No
sinuses.
way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You are a saint.
Well, she deserves it.
She does. She
deserves
absolutely
it.
does. And I found, with my own work with animals, how important dental care is.
Yes.
And it's overlooked, even for humans.
Yeah.
Especially in later in life. But if you can't chew properly, you can't digest properly, and it really has a snowball effect
It does.
on their health.
It absolutely does.
So a lot of times you'd be like, oh, what's wrong? And it turns out to be the teeth, which goes unlooked
Yes.
many, many times.
We have them come out at least once a year, and they do what they call floating.
Yes.
They float the teeth. They grind them down with a file
Yes.
because they get sharp points on them. Horses grind in the back, and they go side to side
Yep.
when they're chewing the hay.
And they keep growing.
And they keep growing. So
Correct.
they get
Yep.
sharp points, and then the sharp points are sticking into the gums, and now they don't want to chew, and now they're losing weight.
It's
And
very uncomfortable.
like you say, the snowball effect.
Yes, and so I have donkeys.
Right.
And they always say how donkeys are kind of like second-class citizens because they don't get this type of care. You know what I mean?
yes.
So I make sure that my donkeys get their dental care.
Oh,
for
that's
sure.
wonderful.
My friendly ass Ernie, he has excellent conformation though.
Okay.
So his teeth are really, really good, which is unusual for donkeys.
Oh.
Usually they don't, but he has good conformation for that. So it's not as bad, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Whereas some horses, don't.
Right, it's like us. Our jaw's not aligned right, or
and
something
then it doesn't
like that.
happen, and then they
Yeah.
need more
They're
care.
chewing on one side, not the other.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
So like my
right.
mini horse was seeing the dentist more than I was because she
jeez.
had one huge tooth. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, you
wouldn't-
have them come out, and as you know, it all costs money.
It
so,
costs a lot of money.
right.
It costs
And
a
I'm
lot
just
of
a
money.
normal person.
Yes. Yeah.
So-
especially with the the veterinary hospital
Yeah.
when they have to stay over and they have to be put down, and there's several doctors, and
Yeah.
it takes a lot. It does. So I'm really glad that you do that for them because most people don't.
Well, we do everything that we can.
Yes.
I'd rather eat ramen noodles. That's my
Hey,
tagline.
ramen's good.
It's right. It's undervalued.
Yes. So tell me more about the horses you have,
Yeah.
and if you have a special, story of how they came, or
Well, one of the horses we have, his name is Jeffrey.
Yes.
Jeffrey with a G.
Oh, Jeffrey.
And he's a real handsome, tall redhead.
Oh, beautiful.
And he's a wonderful boy.
Yep.
And horses have a pecking order,
Yes,
so he's
they
now
do.
the leader of the herd. It just happens that he's the biggest, but sometimes it's the smallest.
Correct.
You never know. But he came to me a couple of years ago. He came from a dear friend, and they were looking for a home for him. And he used to be a fancy dressage horse.
He did.
He did. He
So
was-
that's horse dancing for you at home.
Yes, that they do that at the Olympics. It's
Yes.
kind of like horse ballet, I call it.
Yes.
So they do the prancing and all very refined
It
movements.
is amazing.
It
Yeah,
is.
it's
And he was
beautiful.
fairly high level.
Yeah.
And his owner, I don't even know her, but she still officially owns him. But he's come to me, and she knows where he is, and he's doing great, and she's happy. So that's what I hear anyway from my friend Carla. Carla hooked me up with Jeffrey. Jeffrey was living with Carla.
Yes.
And they had some troubles keeping him sound also. Keeping horses sound is always a challenge.
Well,
they have health issues with their feet, their legs.
They do, and they sometimes get overused and overworked, and so then they, just like anything, it wears and tears.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Jeffrey's situation, he would get a lot of abscesses in his feet.
Oh, no.
So he would, hoof abscesses, we call them, and then they're
That's
very painful
painful.
until they finally blow out,
Right.
and then they drain, and so you got this whole syndrome going. So we've been working with him with corrective shoeing. So we have the farrier who comes out for Classy also. She needs corrective shoeing.
Do you mind telling the folks at home what a farrier is?
Oh, sure.
For those who don't.
Yeah,
yet
people
know.
commonly refer to it as a blacksmith.
Yes.
But they don't do forging like railings on your house. A farrier is someone who specializes just in horses, and horse shoes and horse hoof care. So a hoof is kind of like our fingernails. It's made of keratin, and it grows the same way. And wild horses, they wear them down because they're running over rocks, and they just naturally wear them down. Domestic horses aren't running around over rocks so much, thankfully, or not thankfully,
Right.
because then we have to take care of these feet. If we don't, they keep growing and growing, and they curl, and they look sort of like those Dutch shoes.
Yes.
And then they're crippled. It's such a horrible
Very
thing.
uncomfortable.
So the best way to keep your horse sound is to make sure you take care of their feet properly.
Yes.
There's an old expression, no hoof, no horse.
Isn't
You
that
know?
the truth? Yeah, because a hoof injury or a leg injury really can be catastrophic for them.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like if our feet hurt,
Yeah.
we're not going to get around. And if we
Right.
don't get around, we can't do our things.
Right.
And it just, as you say, snowballs from
It does.
there.
It does.
So we do the feet. They come every 5 to 6 weeks. And everyone gets new shoes that needs shoes. A few of them go barefoot. Snowflake goes barefoot
Yes.
now, and that's nice. She just gets a trim. But the other ones have special custom shoes made. Sometimes they have pads that are in there. Sometimes they have a gel that goes in
Yep.
as well to be like a little more of a shock absorber.
Yes.
And that's how we take care of them. So Jeffrey, because we've been really keeping on top of his feet, and he's outside moving around all the time.
Yes.
That's another piece of
It is
taking
important.
care of older horses, is I don't keep them in their stalls at night unless it's really, really bad or really, really cold.
Yep.
They're outside. They're able to get to heated water. I
Yep.
have hay everywhere,
Yep.
always free choice hay.
Yep.
They're moving. And that is the key, the moving.
It is key, especially for not only for their joints and their legs, but also their digestive system.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know that their digestive system has to consistently keep moving, and part of that is the horse actually moving.
I'm glad you know about horses because that's so true. People don't realize that.
Yes.
They think, they're doing, there's different opinions on this, so I know it's a controversial statement, but people think they're doing their horse a good thing by keeping them in a stall at night.
Right.
And often they're better off, healthier. My veterinarian told me this many years ago, keep them out at night. Why are you keeping them in? And I said, I don't know, aren't I supposed to do that?
Yeah.
And she said, no, the best thing is to keep them moving. So that was probably 18 years ago.
Yes.
And so that's what I've done ever since.
I do the same thing where they're, it's like 24-hour turnout. I
Yes.
don't have them out to the pasture, but they can go in and out of their stalls.
Okay.
And it works out great.
That's
I
nice.
also rescued my horse Theodorable. He had a
Love that name.
Isn't it great? Yeah. He came. A lot of them, as you know, they come with their names. So that was his name. But he had a leg injury, and he was getting hawk injections, and the vet missed. Not my current vet, but who was doing it. You know how sometimes they have the big barns, and then they have the vet that goes, and does everything
Down the whole row.
And I'm sure, things happen. It's not anybody's fault or anything like that. But because she missed and it was in a stall, he just couldn't be in a stall anymore. He literally would go berserker.
Yeah.
So that's how I actually got him.
That's his trauma.
That's his trauma, exactly.
Yeah.
And at least I knew that. So I was able to, now I can't, he does go back to the stall, but I don't lock him in there, especially without someone sort of thing, because you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's nice to know those sorts of things when you are rehabilitating, a horse so that they can be around people again.
Yeah,
you know
right.
what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. The
Yeah.
more history you know, the more you can work with things.
Exactly.
And try to recover from those things.
Yes.
Otherwise,
Yep.
you're guessing.
Yeah.
And that's always a challenge.
So now I always do it because the 24-hour turnout is nice. And I do find that they tend to, will go out to relieve themselves sometimes, and they can do the water and they can socialize as well, because
Yes.
they only sleep 4 hours a night. It's not like they're working on their novel or their dissertation. They just kind of have each other to keep each other company, and I find that horses are happier like that.
They're very social.
Yes, they
very
are.
social animals.
They
If I
are.
have to keep someone in a stall overnight because of a health
Injury.
issue, an injury,
Yep.
Or a newbie,
Yep.
when a new one comes, I slowly acclimate them to the herd.
Yes.
You have to do that very slowly,
Yes,
just
you do.
like a new dog to a dog pack.
Of
you don't
course.
just send them out there.
Yes.
And so when I'm doing those things, I always keep a buddy in.
Yes.
A friend.
You got to, yeah. With
Otherwise-
alpacas, you have to.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Even if you bring them to Tufts, they recommend you bring a friend.
Oh.
Yeah, so they do a reduced rate for the buddy.
Oh,
just
interesting.
Because they're herd animals.
Yeah.
When you're separated from the herd, you're,
Yes.
you know,
right.
so that's what they think,
Yeah.
So it's really, really important for their, when it's mental health overall.
Right.
you
They
know.
can't get better if they're
No.
stressed and worried.
Absolutely not. It's a huge piece
Yeah, it is
for
a huge
both
piece.
humans and
Yeah.
horses.
Right.
Yes. So is there any other horse you'd want to tell us about?
Well, we have a new one.
You
We've got
do?
a new one. She came right before Christmas.
So how does the new horses come? Is it just they're drawn to your sanctuary? Do you do the auction kill pen stuff?
I don't do that so much because I'd want to take them all.
Yes,
And then
and-
I'd have 100 and then it would be a mess.
And there's
then
only
it's no good.
so many rooms in the inn or
Yes.
stalled in the barn.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And then it's not good for any of them.
Correct.
So I do my best. This one came from a rescue in Connecticut.
Do they
And so,
contact you?
we had learned about her.
Okay.
So a friend had seen her on the internet.
Yes.
And we read about her and we said, we think she might be a good fit.
Yay.
Because they have to be a good fit.
They do.
From a lot of perspectives.
Yep.
Being around people, being around the other horses. So she's 23. Her name is Mariah. And she's a quarter horse type. I don't know if she's registered or anything. We don't really know her background, but she's a quarter horse. That's her breed. And her color is a palomino, like Trigger.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah,
I
so
love
she's really
palominos.
pretty.
They're
I do
gorgeous.
too.
They're so nice to see in the field.
I know.
Yeah.
That's what I said. I said,
Yeah.
I always wanted one of those.
Yes.
Don't have that color.
Yep.
That's a dangerous thing to think.
Tell me about it with alpacas.
Yeah.
Collect them all.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I know. That's my problem. But yeah, I do have to be careful. Otherwise, it will take over, and then it's no good for anybody. But so she has come, and we're trying to figure out her. She's really sweet. She has a little sore spot on her rear flank. When you touch it, she kind of kicks out. We're not sure what's going on with that, but we'll figure it out.
Yes, you will.
It takes time, but she's acclimated beautifully. Snowflake and her are the best buddies.
Yay!
Yes. Oh,
That's
it's
great.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
So
girl
they're-
power.
Yeah, girl power indeed. Yeah, so their stalls are right next to each other, and they have connected right from the beginning.
Meant to be.
So it's been really nice.
You
so
got
she's a nice
Snowflake
girl.
and Mariah.
Yes.
Oh, BFFs.
Yeah.
Isn't that great? Well, that's so wonderful. So let's talk about how, if people want to get involved with your farm, so you're volunteer operated.
Yep, it's 100% volunteer.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yes. So and-
people are really willing and wanting to be there.
Yep, people want to come.
Yep.
No one really wanted to be there last week when it was
I didn't have any volunteers.
14 below and a wind chill of, 30 below.
All my volunteers canceled too.
Yeah, it's very breezy
Yes.
up there, which is lovely in July.
Yes,
it's
it
not
is.
quite as lovely in January.
Yes.
But yeah, so people can get involved. We have flyers. We were at the Spencer Fair this last year, and we're going to be there again.
There, yay!
Did you?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
That was our first time. So
Yep.
we're just getting out there in the public.
Isn't that
So
great?
we have flyers that talk about the sanctuary, and we can post on the back of this is my cell phone. These are my business cards with Snowflake on the front.
Yes.
And it has my cell phone. People can call or text if they want to come out. We can set up.
Wonderful.
What we did in the fall was we had, I call it a new volunteer roundup. So it was like an
Nice.
orientation session. So
I
we
love
could
that.
talk to 6 or 8 people.
Yes.
Not huge, just that way they
Kind
a
of like an
small group.
orientation.
Yeah.
Yep.
So take them around, talk about what happens
Yep.
and what they could participate in if they would like.
Yep.
And some people just wanted to see the horses that day, and that's fine.
Yep.
Other people were like, "Yeah, sign me up. I can come on Tuesdays or whatever."
Sure.
So that was a wonderful thing.
So how many volunteers do you have?
Altogether, maybe there's about 20. Some come on
Amazing.
a regular basis.
Yep.
Some come on an intermittent basis.
Yes.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's just fine. We'll take whatever, and at whatever level they want to do. If
Yes.
we've had some folks bring an autistic child,
Sure.
and the child might be older or younger, as long as they're able, self-aware enough to be around the horses. But the horses seem to understand.
Yes, they do.
So I can't say we're a therapy place, but I can say the horses give their own version of therapy. So they
Absolutely.
can brush horses like Snowflake or Mariah is coming around. Jeffrey is another good one, although he's very big. Classy is very sweet. She's
Yes.
nice and quiet.
Yep.
So those are the 4 key ones that I would have typically people engage with. And they can come and brush if they want to come and do things. If they have special skills like carpentry, there's always a million things at the farm that need to be fixed at all
So
times.
it's volunteering for anything on the
Anything,
farm.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you're very open to what they could contribute to the farm.
Yep. And some people just want to be sponsors. They can do that. So I would say, volunteer, donate, sponsor, support the events. So some people just come to some of the events,
Yep.
and that's how they participate.
Yes.
And they've helped me set those things up, and that's fine.
Like your comedy event.
Like my comedy event.
Yes, so I couldn't make it because
Yeah.
I was a little under the weather, but I wanted to make a donation to you
Oh.
for the comedy event because I couldn't make it.
Oh.
So maybe you could tell
Thank you.
everybody
Thank
how
you.
they could
Thank you.
donate as well
Yes.
to help pay for your dental
thank you for
surgery.
this. Wow.
You're very welcome.
You're a wonderful human.
So are you.
Well, I
we
try.
seem very kindred spirits.
We are
Yes.
kindred spirits,
Yes.
yes. Well, as we've mentioned, taking care of horses, the grain, the hay, the feet, the teeth, the list goes on and on.
It adds up.
Providing their shelter, the equipment in order to take care of the land,
Right.
all those things.
And you're not even talking about your time.
Oh, yeah, that has none of that. There's none of that. I retired myself a few years ago. Well, I'll throw this out there. I have my own health issue. People are not aware of.
You do?
I do. I stopped working in the corporate world because it was damaging me. I have multiple sclerosis.
You do.
I do.
Oh, wow.
But the horses help me.
Yes, they do.
And some people say, "Oh, it's so physical. How can you do that?" Because the stress is gone.
Yeah.
And the horses are so therapeutic that I am healthier now that I'm out of my stressful world
Yes.
and into their world.
I consider myself a wounded healer as
Okay.
well. Yes,
That's why it's so important to me to be able to help other people
Yes.
through their struggles and
Yes.
such, because I know how much it's helped me.
and I'm sure you know, but there is hope. You can manage it.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. So, and I like to, with the horses, all of that fades into the background, and
does.
you just get to be you, and you get to
Yeah.
be an accepted part of the herd. And I think that's the biggest magic of the farm in the sanctuary.
It absolutely
is that you're no longer defined by that. You're just accepted,
Yeah.
and that's huge.
They don't care what you look like, how
Right.
you smell, if you showered today. They don't care. They appreciate if you bring treats,
Yes,
there's
they
that.
do. Yes.
But you don't have to. Just being there around them, and they're happy.
It's
and
amazing.
that's what made a big difference in my life. I've been around them forever.
Yes.
But when I got rid of the other stress, that's where the change came for me. Now, not everyone can do that, but we are now a certified 501c3,
Yes.
as I mentioned.
Which is such a huge thing.
And that allows us to take in donations, and the donors can get the tax write-off for that.
Correct.
It's just like giving to the Red Cross. You
Right.
get a receipt,
Yep.
which I'll give you a receipt on that.
Oh,
and
thank
then
you
you
so
can put
much.
it on your taxes,
Yes.
and so you get deducted for that. We have a Venmo QR code. We have a Zeffy. What's Zeffy? I didn't
Yes.
know about Zeffy.
No, this is great. Tell
So,
the folks at home what Zeffy is.
Zeffy is another, it's like a Venmo sort of thing.
Yep.
And it specializes in nonprofit where they don't take a fee unless
Isn't
the
that
donor
wonderful?
wants to give the extra 3% or whatever it is.
Sure.
And when people give through Zeffy, they automatically get an email with a letter that describes the sanctuary and its mission
Mm-hmm.
and its background. And they also get right away on their email a tax receipt right there.
Isn't
and a
that
beautiful
perfect?
picture of Snowflake, of course.
Of course, Snowflake. You get
Yes.
the poster.
Our poster girl, that's right.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah. So Zeffy is my favorite. We'll have QR codes I'll try to make available. But people can also go out onto,
Yes, tell
Facebook.
the folks
So
at
we have
home
Facebook.
how to get a hold of you.
so we have...
If they want to donate, if they want to volunteer,
Okay.
if they just want to get involved with your events.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so Maple Brook Horse Sanctuary, Inc. is the way it is.
Yes.
I made the mistake when I first set up a Facebook for the business. I didn't do it as a business one, and it was just Maple Brook Horse Sanctuary.
Yes.
And because I just didn't even think of it. And so you can't do events on a personal Facebook one. You
Right.
can do the events on the business
I
one.
learned that the hard way
Yes.
myself.
So that
Yep.
was my mistake. So if you go out onto Maple Brook Horse Sanctuary, Inc., and you see green with Snowflake, you know
You're
you're
there.
on the right one.
Yes.
Yes. The other one is Jeffrey. So eventually we'll shut that down, but we're trying to migrate everybody over.
Got it.
But that's where you can see the day-to-day things. Like last night, Snowflake was laying in the hay, a huge bale of hay.
Oh, I saw
and she
that
didn't
with
feel
the
like
coat.
getting up. Yes. she was like,
She was so cozy.
She was so cozy.
She was
didn't
eating
wanna
her
come
dinner
for
in
supper,
bed.
So I
Yes.
brought supper to her.
Yes, that was
Everyone else was in
adorable.
the stall. She's like, no, I'm good
You're
here,
like,
Mom.
where's my supper in bed?
I am their slave.
Yes.
But I'm okay with that.
Yes.
We also are setting up the the website.
Yes.
So that should
Okay.
go live very soon.
That's exciting.
But really, the Facebook is where you'll learn about the events, you'll
The
learn about
updates.
what's going on day to day, and
see the cute pictures.
and see the cute pictures.
Yes.
Yes, we
Which
always
is
have
what it's
cute
all about.
pictures.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
So on there, they can also find my cell phone number, which is on the back of the business card.
Perfect.
But we'll get that on the Facebook page.
Yep.
And I do have a orientation roundup for new volunteers from time to time. I
Perfect.
probably won't do one again until March. Of course, we enter mud season at that time,
Yes.
which anyone who has a farm knows that's just a wonderful joy.
Wear your waterproof boots.
Yes, and then April is the month that lets me down because I'm always expecting so much more of April.
Right.
Like, why isn't it green yet? Oh, because it's April.
Yep.
But then May comes and I just forget about April and it's just wonderful.
Right.
So, but right now it's pretty.
And it's kind of spring
snow-covered.
cleanup time.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
spring cleanup
Yeah.
time. But we'll take any and all donations if people want to come and give their time, if they want to go to the events. We are going to have that sound therapy session
Yes.
in March, so that's going to be advertised very soon.
Yes, that's going to be exciting.
Yes, we are talking about a music event in the summer, like a big soiree at
Like a
at place.
festival?
Well, sort of like maybe 2 or 3 bands.
Nice.
Yeah, a music festival. We'll see how we can get that together.
That would be incredible. Sounds fun.
Dream big, as they
Yes,
say.
you
right?
got to,
'Cause
right?
it's fun.
It
you
is
know,
fun.
and that's really what it's about. It's about having a great time and
Yes.
helping horses and helping people.
And just getting the community together, right? And that's something I find with the farm sanctuary, and like care. I'm just learning this term too, like a care farm.
Oh, I don't know
Yeah,
that term.
it's opposed to it's like a therapy farm, but it also incorporates how you're doing the farm to care for not only humans but the community. So you integrate animals. Yeah, I just got listed
love
on
this.
the Care Farm Network because people get kind of thrown off by therapy farm.
Yes, yes.
And
People get,
Care
"Ooh."
Farm is actually really more in line because people do really care, and it's a two-way street where they're caring for the horses and the horses are caring for the humans, and it like your
That nails it.
Your tagline.
That's, yeah.
What's your tagline?
Well, I've got two taglines, but
Yes.
the first one is the sanctuary, it's not just for horses.
Yes.
And the other one is horses, people helping horses, horses helping people. And that's really what it's about. You know,
is.
it's got to be a big circle. It's a beautiful circle.
It is a beautiful
Yeah.
circle, and may it be unbroken.
Yeah, thank you.
Cindy, thank you so much for coming in today.
My pleasure.
It was
I
so
love
much
talking
fun.
about them.
Yes,
And
so do
sharing
I.
them, and hopefully we'll see some of you out there. Come visit us.
That'd be great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. I want to thank you all for tuning in to Bring It to the Table. And remember that, you know, we're here for each other, and being a community is the way that we are going to stay together and have the environment that we all want to be a part of. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you again real soon. Allison Smith signing out. Bye for now.